Hello pen people, I'm here to talk a bit today about another type of pen, fountain pen, and I'm going to be talking to you today about the Eberhard Faber Permapoint pens. And you can see I've got a pair of them here. Just a little bit of background behind these pens. Eberhard Faber, while I can't get clear information, it appears that it had some roots in the same parent company that Faber-Castell is now, but that was a long time ago in the 1800s. Somewhere in the late 1800s, one of the Faber progeny came to America. Johann Eberhard Faber, and he founded the company here in the United States, and it was known for making pencils and mechanical pencils, and also fountain pens, obviously. And these pens existed pretty much through the 1940s, I think ending somewhere in the mid-1950s, but they were contemporaries of pens like the Esterbrook, and these were the pens that they were intending to compete with. And you can see they're roughly the same size, and I think that they were probably competing on the same price level. However, the Eberhard Fabers were considered inferior in quality, so they didn't do quite as well as the Esterbrookes did. But like the Esterbrookes, they were designed to have interchangeable nibs and nib units. And as you can see, this is a pair of Esterbrook J's. Other pens that would have been around at the same time would have been this Venus, which is another one that was probably in the same kind of price point. Let's put the green ones together. That makes it kind of fun. This isn't green, obviously, it's kind of a brown, but it's a celluloid. They're all celluloid here. The difference is this Venus actually has a gold nib, and it's a 14-karat gold nib that was actually made by the same nib manufacturer as, or made by Esterbrook for Venus. I'm not sure, but I was told that they were made by the same manufacturer, and you can tell cosmetically they look very, very similar. Anyway, we're talking about these pens. And one of the things that's kind of cool about them is that they are very easy to repair. So if you come across one of these in the wild, they shouldn't cost you very much, and they are fairly easy to repair. This one I just got finished doing. I just put a latex sack on it. Actually, it's been drying for a day or so, but this one I also replaced the sack on. And what you do, these are all threaded. Now, a lot of them aren't. A lot of pens from this era, the section is just press fit into the barrel, but these are threaded, so you just twist them. This one's a little stiff. The barrel plastic tends to shrink, and it makes it a little tighter around the section. And this one I haven't opened for a long time. But there you can see, there's the latex sack. This one's actually getting a little stiff. It might need a replacement before too long. And it's kind of shrunk up a little bit. And oddly, this is not one that I've replaced. It came to me with a functioning sack, so I didn't do anything about it, and I just used it. And it's actually a great writer. And that's one of the things about both of these pens, both of these Eberhard Faber pens, is that they're both quite good writers. I don't know where I came across this one. Oh dear, it doesn't want to go back in. It's gonna fight me. This one I just replaced for a friend of mine. This is not my pen, but you can see this is an injection molded plastic, and it actually has seams. Where you can see that the molding marks are, there's kind of a seam there. You see that right there, that line by my thumb. So these are cheaper pens, obviously, but the celluloid ones are nicer, a nicer material, of course. And there, I finally got this one to thread in. It's just very, very stiff. And the nib and feed are actually friction fit into the section here. This is an ebonite feed, or maybe it's not. Maybe it's plastic. I can't tell. I thought it was ebonite. Yeah, this one's ebonite. This one is plastic. This one's ebonite. They obviously got cheaper as the run went. But anyway, I'll show you the work that I did on this one. And this one unscrews a bit easier. You just take it out, and there's the talced brand new sack in there that I glued on with shellac. You put talc on it so it won't adhere to the inside of the barrel, and it just threads in there. And obviously, this is a lever filler. And Again, just to show some comparisons, because, you know, here we're looking at a bunch of vintage pens. What does it look like compared to modern pens? So these are contemporaries. These are from the 1940s. And these are, you know, in a cheaper price point. Pens that would have been around at the time that were more valuable would have been things like this Wall Eversharp Skyline, Schaefer Crest, Parker 51, and a Parker Vacuumatic. There are others, of course, but this is just... And you can see that there's kind of a similarity in size. It's like there was a convention in pen sizing. Everybody kind of agreed, I guess, that this was the ideal pen size. Right around... Oh, what size is it? Let's find out. Clank, clank. Let's go with the 51 here. About 5.5 inches. Or for the... metrically inclined, about 14 centimeters, and so that's kind of where all these pens kind of fall. Now, these two pens, being the same model but from a different era, you can see some differences here. This is all celluloid, obviously. It has a cap band. I'm not sure if that's made aluminum, probably something like that. It's definitely not a plated metal. This, however, is plated. But nice, crisp banding at the top and the bottom, and they're very flat. Nice shiny ebonite there, whereas the later ones are more of a conical finial on the top and bottom. Don't know why the design change, but it went from celluloid to injection molded. The nibs themselves are fairly similar. There's nothing really extraordinary about them. Just round breather hole. E. Faber. The markings changed just a little bit. But they're both great writers, like I mentioned, and we'll show that in a moment. Pens today, just so you can get an idea of how they compare to modern pens size-wise, there's the ubiquitous Pilot Metro, which is just a hair longer and quite a bit heavier because it's made out of brass. And the Lamy Safari, which is a little bit bigger, but it's right in that same size. And obviously the celluloid one is smaller than the injected molded plastic one. And we'll go ahead and do a quick little scribble with it. And this is a very mild ink, the Pelikan 4001 Royal Blue. It's kind of a milk toast sort of ink. Oh, why am I'm filling up the old one? I meant to do the new one. I can do them both. What the heck? All right, so we'll just wipe it a little bit on the ink rag here. Put the cap on it. And this is the one that I've just done some restoring on. Oh, the action on that one's very good. Nice. Let's see how much ink it holds. Just for the heck of it. It's kind of a oh, that's a nice lot of ink. Yeah. It's working good. There, a little bit more air came out. Very solid snap back there because of the big, hefty new sack I put in there. All right, ink bottle out of the way. Wiped a little bit of the section off. Okay, so this is the Eberhard Faber Permapoint. And this one's, it doesn't really tell me what size it is. It just says, oh no, it does. It says broad iridium. That doesn't look like a broad to me. It looks more like a medium, but it says broad on it. It's kind of a pretty celluloid on that one. And this one's far more utilitarian. And this one says that it is a fine, so... Oh, much, much sharper, yeah. Oh gosh, I did it again. Eberhard, I'm terrible writing today. Faber Permapoint. And this one is a fine. The ink is Pelican Royal Blue. There really isn't much line variation. They're quite stiff. They flow quite well though. This one is a very precise writer, it being a fine. No issues with ink flow. It does its job. This broad one is older, and it's really no more line variation. It is also a very stiff nib. It's a bit wetter of a writer, which you would expect with a broad, but not like a gusher. It's just a very well-tuned pen. So if you're in the market for inexpensive pens from the 40s, you don't have to, you know, these used to be inexpensive, so did these, but now they're, you know, this particular model in this celluloid and this and all of the Parker 51s are now all north of $100. And even these Vacuumatics are approaching $200 now, depending on the model and the quality of it. So if you want an inexpensive celluloid pen that works and will do a good job and is easy to repair, this is certainly one to do. One of the things I didn't mention about this particular one is that when it came to me, the cap looked like it had been chewed on by a 3-year-old. Some people are cap chewers, and apparently whoever owned this pen at one point was a cap chewer. You cannot see it now because I filled in all of the divots from the teeth of the person, but it was terrible. There were probably 30 deep bite marks all over this cap. I was able to fill them and then buff it out so you can't hardly tell anymore. And there are ways to do those sorts of things. I learned how to do it from watching Grand Mia pens, using super glue, basically. It's which is a type of plastic, and once it's cured, it can be buffed and polished along with the rest of the pen. Anyway, so this is the review of the Eberhard Faber Permapoint pens, and I hope you have a good evening.